Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Wednesday, June 13th. E3 is still going on, but all the press conferences are done. Maybe I could blame some of that for nobody on the chat or probably not getting very many views today, but I think by far the most important thing to blame there is the fact that YouTube is just not putting out announcements anymore. Even if you click the bell, even if you do that, I still ask people to do that, but it's just not happening. So much so that Creator Insider, which is a channel run by people who work at YouTube, even their videos have not gotten announcements, and they complained directly. So somebody on the inside complained to a department, and then that department allegedly took a look and said, you know what, this is happening too often, we're screwing up, we need to escalate it. So now the no announcement things, allegedly at least, I don't know how much I believe any YouTube employee to tell the truth or to at least accomplish what they're going to say they're going to accomplish, but allegedly now it's been escalated to a very high level, and they are working on fixing announcements for everybody, which is great. Meanwhile, I have my own announcements I have to deal with, and let's start with the Tavern Brawl as we go through lots of news from E3, lots of little games that have started to sneak out just via Steam Direct, a lot of things to talk about. Seems like there's always a lot of things to talk about because I'm really not filtering or censoring anything too much unless it's just a straight up trolling, to quote Steam, game. I usually talk about it. Let's get going though. Gematsu has an article. 505 Games and Remedy Entertainment announced Control for the PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Control, I believe, was at the Sony PlayStation conference reveal, so whether it was going to be for PC or Xbox was a bit of a question. It will launch in 2019. This Control is made by the people who made Quantum Break, and Quantum Break didn't really succeed very well. What's funny about the single image they show for Control, you have the main female character. She has a gun in her right hand, and she's using her powers with her left. The trailer I saw had her holding like a flashlight or something in her left hand and swinging her right hand wildly to fling things around. But I guess maybe I am remembering things wrong, because that may not actually be the case. It's basically Bioshock there. I don't know how you don't call this a shock game. Yeah, see, I'm not wrong. There are scenes at least when you don't have a gun, and maybe early off at the beginning of the game. No, the gun actually is this weird shifting gun that changes, and it disappears from her hand and then reappears. So she's doing everything with her right hand. Like, certainly it's interesting to see Control, but it also does strike me as very possibly just a Death Stranding combination of ideas where there's really no story there. And you have to really wonder, can they pull it off? Has 505 Games or Remedy Entertainment pulled off anything recently that was a huge success, or are they simply in the rut? The creators of Quantum Break in particular really gave the impression that they would have preferred to have made a a TV series, movie type thing, and not Quantum Break. And there was a whole tie-in to that, so much so that there was cutscenes and work making a TV episodes. So in the same way that Detroit Being Human is, or Becoming Human, whatever the subtitle for Detroit is one of those Michel Ancel's games that mostly just wants to be a movie instead of an actual game, and it's just full of a bunch of QuickTime events. There's something to consider there. Then maybe the gameplay mechanics aren't first and foremost in the minds of these creators, and when you do something like that in the development process, you don't end up with a good gameplay mechanic. And I've certainly seen a lot of games that have way too much story and really bad gameplay mechanics, and the problem is, of course, you don't actually make it to the end of the story if the gameplay mechanic sucks for most people. There we go. We've got a game on Steam called System Siege. Let's see, it says it's an early access indie strategy game. What is it really? Is it a tower defense game? It has a flat 2D animation style to it that I like. It's unique. It's got a menu. But honestly, this does feel like you're building roads and placing characters on roads in a tower defense mechanic. That's all this seems like this is. It's kind of a tank based. Place your tank, $4.99 for this early access game. So they're calling it a top-down turn-based strategy game set in the distant future, which I think a game like that came out pretty recently. Was it called Breach or Into the Breach? From the creators of, what was it? I don't know. There's a pretty big, well-known developer that came out with a game very similar to that. This first review I see is from this curator person that seems to be curating every game. Let's see. Like, I cannot recommend it due to technical issues as well as lack of content. If you're not interested in multiplayer battles, Steam really needs a neutral recommendation option. Like, I don't see why it needs a neutral recommendation option. If you're so wishy-washy on whether you recommend a game in general or not, you probably shouldn't be a critic. Looks like I'm gonna get lucky and win. Ah, I could have won right then. System Siege is made by a developer who hasn't made anything else, and even though I like the art style, it's the art style outside of the actual gameplay that I like. The art style inside the gameplay is just roads and tanks and strategy things, and they don't look that great. So I'm gonna close System Siege, but maybe they'll find a way to to succeed and make something better. Let's see. So we've got a asset flip game called Infinite World on Steam. It seems like it's just some very basic Unity or Unreal assets and just a whole max mixed together. It's 99 cents. I doubt anybody well, actually there is one review that says not recommended. Played for 15 minutes. In survival, found you needed a couple hundred wooden logs and planks to build a house, which is a preset. Which I assume that means preset build. Let's just go ahead and room. That article goes on. Another not recommended review says this game is just a clone of 7 Days to Die. You might as well buy that game instead of this one. No content in this game. Buggy. Blah blah blah. It goes on and goes on. It's pretty obvious that Infinite World's an asset flip from a developer who's made nothing else. I think in my own mind there's a justification to just call asset flips, and troll games, and not even mention them and move on. Because to most people, I think if after having looked at Steam listings for 6 months or so, you know the troll games. You know what they look like. You've seen them before. So I'm assuming a level of basic intelligence and knowledge on my audience, which I think is fair to assume, to the point where I don't have to say, yeah, Infinite World is an asset flip, it has a terrible UI, it has random things just added everywhere, there's nothing to do other than play an incredibly difficult system of chopping trees and survival. I'm just gonna get rid of this and we're gonna make a dragon deck, I guess, to start with. Let's go with a paladin. I think paladins would be the right one for dragons. And then there really is no reason why I shouldn't be able to get 30 dragon cards, except for the fact that I can't spell dragon. Let's see. Dragon there, and suddenly I have a much larger collection of dragons on my main account compared to the Asian or European account. However, even with all these dragons, I still don't have a desire to play with them. Like every now and then you'll find one or two that are worth playing as. And there we are. Stopping at 6 mana, I have 30 dragons. There's a legendary dragon here, 1 epic. I could certainly get a 2nd epic, and I probably should use my dust to make a 2nd one of those. We have another legendary dragon, legendary dragon, legendary dragon, legendary dragon, legendary dragon, not legendary dragon actually, that last one, legendary dragon, and legendary dragon. So most dragons are legendary. Ooh, no real surprise there. So let's play this custom paladin deck. And go. Next game we have on Steam is called Gravity Rush. It looks like a terrible garbage game for $1.27 with 36% being off. It just looks ugly. It's simplistic geometric shapes. It looks like it might have been a cell phone game. Even if it was a cell phone game, it's an ugly cell phone game at that. So moving on. Gamatsu has an article, Exceed Games E3 2018 lineup trailers. So the Exceed games that were listed here are Fate Extella for the PS4 and PS Vita, Freedom Planet for the Switch, Gal Metal for the Switch, which is the girls playing in a heavy metal band, I imagine, is the idea. Gungrave VR for the PlayStation VR. A lot of PlayStation VR games not given much time at all during the Sony press conference. So they've kind of given up on that. Or they're just going to leave it the same way. Sinrin Kagura Burst Renewal. That's RE:NEWAL for the PS4 and PC, coming fall 2018. I really would like to get into the Sinrin Kagura games at some point. Sukuna, Sakuna of Rise and Ruin for the PS4 and PC. Let me watch that trailer, because I'm certainly was interested in that game originally, and then I think it kind of turned into a Stardew Valley type game with maybe some RPG battling elements, but even Stardew Valley had that, so I'm not sure if it was any different. And really nice that this trailer is actually showing me something.
I'm waiting for no one.
Alright, finally we get into some gameplay looking footage. So, looks like it.
I will be your doom.
It looks like it might be a 2.5D JRPG with a lot of platforming. No RPG mechanics. It's a beat 'em up, a side-scrolling brawler. Right, that doesn't sound too bad, and it looks pretty. And you have some abilities. I bet the Japanese think it's pretty funny to see a rice farmer with a hoe attacking monsters and creatures with it. But then there is also like there is a rice planting and growing mechanic in this. So I don't know how often I would want that to be the case. Seems like you're asking a lot to have a player become a rice farmer and do a job in a game with the side-scrolling platforming, beat 'em up. And there's bosses. I'm seeing her fight like a giant fish god creature. Or a giant fish with a ornate golden mask, which I assume makes it a god. And then there's custom outfits, and there's an overworld map, and you go to different areas.
One shot, one kill.
There's a danger here of the game being just 5 or 6 locations, and you have to go to the same platforming locations and fight enemies over and over again. So I'm still not 100% sold on Sakuna of Rice and Ruin, but I'm liking it a little bit more than what I had seen. Well, I just hadn't seen much about it, so I'm still keeping an eye on it, trying to decide. Let's see. Rock Paper Shotgun has an article. Dead by Daylight sends in the clowns. Dead by Daylight, I guess, is not it's not killing floor people. let's see, let's go to the Steam page and curtain call for the game Dead by Daylight. Dead by Daylight is the 4 versus 1 game where you play as several different monsters trying to kill several other players who are trying to activate light and other mechanics to escape. In a weird way, Dead by Daylight is probably going to be the most successful of these asynchronous gameplay games, sending in clowns and having one more generic enemy and maybe some other content coming along with that. Let's see, it includes a new killer, a survivor on the map, as well as an exclusive item for the new survivor. The Friday the 13th video game, I think in part, and I may have even mentioned this, but I'm not going to say I did, because it's been widely known. There's been a dispute over who owns the right to Friday the 13th, and somehow one of the people who claimed they owned the rights gave the rights to for free to the Friday the 13th video game, which wasn't going to be a actual Friday the 13th game and was just going to be heavily inspired by it, and that helped them make a few more sales, certainly, and they were working on new content, and now they're in this legal fight. Not the developers of the game, but the developers of the game pretty much can't take any more actions because they've probably received some cease and desist letter, which is the thing that they're probably not willing to ignore and continue going forward. Arguably, this might be a little bit of shenanigans. I wouldn't be surprised if a Friday the 13th game came out without Jason Voorhees in it, and it wasn't called Friday the 13th, because that's what they were making in the first place. So I wouldn't be surprised if they just stripped out him, as he wasn't intended to be there in the first place, added some generic killer, and continued working forward. I don't know what you do otherwise as a company that made that game. You either abandon Friday the 13th and say, well, we've made our money, now we can fund our next development, which maybe that was their plan all along, and they're just using the legal issue as an excuse, or made up excuse to stop development, or maybe it really is the case of them just not being able to do anything. So I don't know if you shut down your company or you continue and you try to go forward. This is funny. Play this. And then end the turn. So, yeah. Next game we have on Steam is called Tanks. It looks like MS Paint level graphics. It's $4.99 with no discount. Wow. So, the thing about Steam is it doesn't feel like straight up trolling, to quote them, includes asking for a unrealistic amount of money. And I think that's probably pretty fair. There are probably some Saudi princes out there that don't care if they spent $1,000 on a video game that looks like garbage. Whereas the vast majority of people probably would never spend $1,000 on one single video game, particularly one that is visually unappealing. So I think the straight up part of straight up trolling is, as I'm trying to interpret 3 words, a lot of detail into it, does not include a value, which is fair enough. There is an argument for legislation against price gouging for things that are necessities, but I don't think you can make the argument that a video game is a necessity to a government agency to have them investigate price gouging, and the United States doesn't really care if people price gouge too much. Maybe on gasoline or the price of milk, and that's about it. Moving on, Gamatsu has an article. Neo 2 has character customization, and the protagonist possesses the power of the yokai, Y-O-K-A-I. A lot of these articles have at least a little bit more information because of the fact that people take interviews after the presentation, or there's interviews in the post-show, and so there's something there. As for the Neo series, I believe I think it's on PC, Neo 1. Otherwise, it's only on PS4, and right now, according to the tags, Neo 2 has only been Neo 2 is in development for the PlayStation 4. So maybe part of the reason why I haven't done the main series, the Neo series, is because it's not on PC. I guess I could try and investigate that, but we'll wait until that happens. E3 is inherently a complete and total abandonment of my general rule against talking about games until they come out. There's tons of games here that are just in development that were shown off at E3, and this is right against my rule against getting hyped for games.
They'll never know what hit 'em.
Also, moving on, there's a game called Small Person on Steam. Let's see. This is like a pixel graphics. It seems like a point and click, low polygon type game or adventure. It's tagged as an adventure, an indie game. It's from somebody who's only made one other game, and it never got enough reviews to be positive, negative, and neutral. Both of the games they're offering is $4.99 with no discount whatsoever. His first game looks more ambitious. This is not a game that has anything to it just doesn't have anything that would make me decide that it was worth my time. 5 here, and then this here. Do that, and that. Who cares? This one person that I keep seeing their reviews, they're reviewing like every single game says it's not recommended. So interesting. Somebody is really trying hard to build their curator page on Steam, which might be the way to go, because Steam did just announce a new Discord-like chat system that's in beta, I believe. So if we get to that article, when we get to that article, there is definitely chances of it being of Steam in general as a service starting to become the combination of Discord and Steam, which makes it a bigger and more useful device on the whole. And also, I mean, if Steam ever allowed for streaming, there is also a thought of, I'm gonna play Secret Major, of abandoning YouTube and streaming videos directly to Steam if the eyes shift there, which that might happen. But that'll be probably 10 years it would take. Gematsu has an article called Zenki Zero Last Beginnings Garage gameplay. Oh, 6 more minutes of footage. So I believe Zenki Zero is the game that's like a sort of dungeon crawler with tanks and some, I think it's that game. This entire trailer is just talking to people in like a visual novel style and maybe upgrading your tank. Yeah. The Japanese certainly know how to make something appealing that actually isn't that appealing. Let's see. Link here for the first 10 minutes of Zenki Zero. Let's watch that. Spell. Secret. Spells cost less. I'll just keep everything. I might be thinking of a completely different game. Actually. This may have nothing to do with tanks. It clearly has something to do with something. But maybe it's not maybe they're living out of the garage. It seems to be a post-apocalyptic world. Visual novel type world.
I wonder. Time runs out on me.
Okay. Play this. Play this. Play this. Play this. And the check. Yep, it seems like I've probably completely and totally lost the plot as far as what Zenki Zero is. So we'll wait until it comes out and get back to it. It's coming to the PC and PlayStation 4 in North America and Europe, but a date hasn't been announced. It's coming out July 5th in Japan for PS4 and Vita. Notice the slight difference in release there. Let's see, I'm gonna go ahead and play this first. Kill this one. In the turn. I still have tons of news. We're definitely gonna break into a fourth.
Speak to me.
Into a fourth recording this stream. There's no way around it. We've got a bunch of extra E3 stuff. Let's see.
I found it first.
Okay, here we are. Gamasutra has an article. Valve unveils new Discord-like chat features for Steam. The update currently in beta boasts a modernized chat experience and gives Valve's antiquated system a number of new features, built right into both the standalone Steam program and the web-based version. Individual chats are now support GIFs, videos, images, tweets, and a whole slew of shareable addition. I imagine they meant to say shareability there.
Someday I'll be just like you.
So it could be shared to other services.
I found it first.
That's an interesting thought. Would anybody, once this service happens, since I know personally I'm gonna just always be muted anyways. Like as I'm recording, I can't have people popping up chat messages in the middle of games, so I'm 100% of the time muted. But I could certainly have my YouTube channel tweet out to Steam's chat message so you could say, hey, I've got a new video out. I don't know if that really is what people want, but whatever. I've got to promote myself as much as possible, and even I think promoting myself half the time is annoying and repetitive and not very successful. Moving on, additionally, group chats can have a new look and feel as well, and players have the option to save a roster of chatting friends as a dedicated group rather than something that would be disbanded once the window is closed. Okay. Let's take this one and get rid of these two. The group chat function also supports channels, both text and voice-based, similar to in many ways to the popular social video game platform Discord. And I did start Discord and never did anything with it, and it didn't seem like there was really enough fans of my channel for it to be justified. There are a number of bulleted new features on the announcement page that dive deeper into what the new system has to offer. Be sure to check out the full page to see what Valve has in the works. The new chat system is currently an opt-in beta, as Valve aims to solicit feedback from Steam users, and the company plans to roll it out to the general public once things look to be running smoothly. So go check that out and let me know what you think, and let them know what you think, I suppose. Always nice to see improvement. See that Valve is doing something something at all is always nice, I guess. TechRaptor has an article. Valve has released an improved Discord-like chat platform from Steam. This is probably not going to say anything different, so I'll close that tab. TechRaptor has an article. Soul Calibur 6 launching on October 19th. Special editions detailed. There's 3 versions of the game. Standard edition is priced $59.99. The other 2 editions this time around are named the Deluxe and Collector's Edition. The Deluxe Edition is priced at $99.99 or $100. It will include a season pass of the game. Wow, season pass really is just a way to make every game $100 these days, which contains 3 upcoming DLC characters and 2 armor packs. So not even new maps, just characters, which maybe characters are more important in fighting games than maps. I guess they are. You also get a free bonus character for getting the game season pass. On top of that, the players will obtain 2 physical goodies, a steel case box, and a game's soundtrack on disc. The Collector's Edition, on the other hand, is $149.99 and contains all the previous bundles, plus a 120-page art book and a 12-inch collectible statue of fighter Sophia, S-O-P-H-I-T-I-A, all found in the lovely Collector's Edition box. So yeah, that sounds like a pretty standard rip off your customer strategy that they do for a lot of Japanese releases. Let's see. Soul Calibur 6 will be available on October 19th for the PS4, Xbox One, and PC via Steam, with a guest appearance of Geralt of Rivia. And there is a trailer here. Nope, the video's not available. Forget that. Alright, well. I'm not sure now is the time for me to get into Soul Calibur, or any time is really the time to get into Soul Calibur, because the truth of it is, it's just it's just kind of nothing. Like, you could always skip it and play the next game in the series, and you wouldn't really miss anything too much as far as the story or as far as what's going on. It's people fighting over a sword, a magical sword, and whoever you play as wins and gets that sword. And if you play as certain characters, that's a good thing, and if you play as certain characters, that's a bad thing.
I'll never tell.
I'm looking at a 10-minute trailer from Gamatsu's. They have an article, 10 minutes of Resident Evil 2 E3 2018 gameplay. The thing I'm seeing here is it doesn't feel like it's crazy difficult tank controls. If anything, it feels like it's maybe a little bit herky-jerky controls when you're running around, and this might be a little too close to Resident Evil 6 in its controls and not smooth that motions that you would expect from Resident Evil 7's engine. But it seems like you're really playing here. You have a 8 inventory slot inventory, so you're not limited to, I think the smallest amount I've seen up until this point was 9, so 8 might actually be the smallest so far. But it seems like you're playing something that feels a lot like RE4, and I think that's kind of what they have to do. Is this is an opportunity for Capcom to fix the Leon S. Kennedy series by doing Resident Evil 2 and having it play like RE4. Gives you the chance of learning a few tricks before you have to come out and remake RE4. Like, I could see doing this RE2 remake, kind of rushing through an RE3 remake, and then come back and say, hey, we've got RE4 and now it's running on a engine that's now 10 to 15 years advanced, and that's makes for much better visual effects and a much smoother just controls. So yeah, I'm turning around on the Resident Evil 2 remake more than I probably should. Let's see. PC Gamer also had an article. Valve releases a new and very improved Steam client. Let's just keep playing. Chat client for Steam. I don't think anybody's really going to say anything too different there. Here's an interesting thing from PC Gamer. Steam will drop Windows 10 and Vista support at the end of the year. Games will continue to run on Steam until the end of the year, but as of January 1st, 2019, it's all over. So if you're still running Windows XP or Vista, what in the world are you doing? Like, seriously, what in the world are you doing? I guess the thought there too is that if you're running a 17-year-old operating system like Windows XP, you probably, some kind of patch or something will happen to crack those games that you are still trying to get to play on off of Steam. The bigger issue, I think, to take from this, again, just in the turn, is how many games on Steam actually only support Windows XP and Vista. Because there honestly could be 10, 20, 30,000 cheaply made games, ports of very old games that are on sale on Steam that claim they only support XP and Vista. So all of those games now, if they don't support a modern operating system, there's no legitimate reason at all for them to be allowed to be sold. And this could be an easy way for Valve to say, look, we're not censoring your games, we're just removing your game because it doesn't match our requirements anymore. Or we're just hiding it in some list that nobody can see, because like it's got to be a two-way street there, doesn't it? Like it really makes no sense that they would let people buy games that only run on Vista or earlier. And that would probably save them a ton of save them a ton of like instant refunds and problems. They're saying that the real problem here is not even Steam, it's that they use a embedded version of Google Chrome to operate, and Chrome doesn't run on older versions of Windows anymore. Updating versions of Steam would also be dependent upon Windows features and security updates that aren't supported by versions of Windows that predate Windows 7. There's some operating systems though between Vista and Windows 7, right? Yeah, it went to Windows 7 and it went to Windows 10, but I know there was something in between that, in Vista and Windows 7. It had to be. Oops. I think I just screwed up terribly. Yep, I just did. The Steam hardware survey indicates that 0.22% of Steam users are running Windows XP 32-bit, a decline of 0.03%, and Windows Vista isn't even on the list. Probably because Vista is just listed as something else. So less than 1% of their people are going to be affected by this. I think the bigger question though comes down to, what about the games that don't support modern operating systems and are still on sale?
An incredible discovery.
Let's see.
I'm late.
Job's done.
Let's continue though, we still have a ton of news. Hey, we got somebody on the chat. We've got Robo Murloc. He says, hey, sup, want some memes? No, I don't have time, sadly, right now for memes. Covering all this news from E3 is taking all my time, and I'm certainly not going through it. Great. We've got a game on Steam called Worlds of Islands Treasure Hunt. It looks like garbage. MS Paint level graphics. Maybe an RPG Maker game. It's early access for $3.99, and I wouldn't buy it for 60 cents. And there's one positive review, 8 out of 10, but that's just suspicious looking. And so, moving on. Hit this. Draw some cards. And then play this.
I'm late.
And return. Rock Paper Shotgun has an article. Session could well be the best thing since Sliced Skate. So there's a teaser here for this game Session, which is a skating simulator. basically, I guess the idea is it's maybe something like Tony Hawk without Tony Hawk in the name. I think Session is probably still a really bad name for that game, but I'll leave it at that. And there's really not a lot of information here, so it's far too early to talk about Session. Session, as a teaser, as one of the teasers from E3, was probably one of the worst teasers that didn't need to be shown at all. Next game we have on Steam is called Keep Running. What is this? It's got dark screenshot syndrome. Seems like it's an infinite runner with a background where it makes everything really dark, or just like a lot of darkness.
I wonder.
Like, seriously, that's all I can really describe it as. It just looks really dark. Black and white-esque style with just tidbits of out-of-place animations of color. Well, the game is selling for 10% off for 89 cents, and I don't think I'd want to pay for that much. It's the first game from this developer, and it's the first game from the publisher, but they're both different names. So I'll just ignore Keep Running. Bad name, too. Pretty bad name. Next game we have on Steam is called Speckle: Chill Puzzle Game. This was one of these games that's a one-screen game. It's 10% off for $4.49, and I'm fairly certain nobody is going to be dumb enough to ever spend that much money. It only has 30 levels, according to its own description. This is the second game from this developer, and the first game is mixed review with 45% positive. So we can ignore that one. I only kept it on the list because I knew it was going to be a poor quality game. Gamasutra has an article, Inno Games, that's I-N-N-O Games, one word, to shut down its Dusseldorf studio and move its staff to Hamburg headquarters. So this is a German company, clearly. 4 years after setting up shop, the studio will fully shut down in December 2018. I'm not sure if this is really too much of an indication of anything, though. If they're not laying off anybody. It says further down in the article, it says that Inno Games is known for making mobile games and free-to-play titles, so they're not a big AAA developer. And I've never heard of them before. Yeah, 29 developers were in that studio, so it was pretty small to begin with.
Someday I'll be just like you.
Moving on, I have a 404 page for PC Gamer, so let's ignore that. Next, we have a game on Steam called Logos, L-O-G-O-S. It's mixed at 64% positive of 17 user reviews, and it says it's a strategy simulation turn-based single-player game. Graphics don't look terrible, but it does look like one of these space games that, well, no, it looks like a space game and it looks like a collectible card game, so I'm not sure exactly what that is. Let's see. Let's play this. Play this.
Job's done.
And in the turn. So, let's see what the reviews say. It's $4.99 with no discount. First Not Recommended says, as an idea the game is good, it seems to work as far as I played it. Graphics are simple but functional, music doesn't bother me. but doesn't mean much either. What annoys me is the propaganda. Yes, it's based in New Age ideas of souls learning for lifetimes and traveling through ages and galaxies. I'm okay with that. It's got elements and elemental balance, and that's okay. It's good for a human being to be in balance. The game has things like vegetarianism and eating meat, plant, fur, and cloth. Important stuff, it seems. As important as fire. As almost as important as zombies. Now I try to eat my greens. Blah 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 blah. Let's skip to the bottom of that article. I don't need to read the entire article. Last sentence says, something good at least comes out of this. I get a bacon burger, my girlfriend gets a fur coat, and hopefully that gets me a lot of very non-spiritual carnal playtime. And I try to distance myself from the so-called game. I don't know if that is a great review, a helpful review, because it seems like it might be a little too upset and
many secrets
about it having a particular agenda. Let's see. The last sentence of the next not recommended review says, it says, I don't recommend it for anyone looking for an engaging or rewarding gaming experience. Next one says, for me it's a fair game, but I wouldn't recommend it to anyone else. It's a deeply strange game. I like that. So it just seems like it's too far up, too far focused on spiritualism for most people. I think inherently I would also be the type of person who would not be into playing a deeply centered around spiritualism game.
Sharp gadgets and steel.
Me? I found it first.
So yeah, I'm gonna leave logos where it is. It's the only game from this developer. It is too expensive. It's the only game from the publisher, but it's the same. It's different names. TechRaptor has an article, Cyberpunk 2077, everything we know so far. From what I've heard, it's a action RPG, whatever that means. To me, it looks like it is probably going to be very similar to Deus Ex Mankind Divided. Like, I could totally see that being the case, where there's a heavy focus on making a lot of decision choices, but also walking around through certain levels and just shooting people and being in point A to point B shooting galleries, which is the main parts of half of Mankind Human Revolution. Like half of Deus Ex Human Revolution, you're in a city, you're sneaking around, you can take these little side missions to sneak into places and do things, but a lot of times it is just a desire to make you shoot people. And there was quite a bit of a split there too in Human Revolution. Hopefully Cyberpunk 2077 does it better. That being said, I'm surprised there's even this much footage and this many screenshots of Cyberpunk 2077, because last time I heard, it didn't seem like they were anywhere close to having anything to show. And I guess CD Projekt Red is kind of known for overworking its employees a little bit. I think I've heard that. I know the management does not listen to the employees, and they hate that. But it seems a little too early from Witcher 3 and the DLC of Witcher 3 to even be this close to release. If this gets announced with a release date next year, I guess that'd be about right. Might give them another year to announce a release date, and then they announce the release date as a year from that, and that gives them 2 more years to work on it. I also wouldn't be surprised if they run into some major trouble and it's actually delayed a little, a year or 2. Right now I just don't think there's too much to say about Cyberpunk 2077, even though I know a lot of people are hyped on it. Gematsu has an article, the game Greedfall has been delayed to 2019, and it has an E3 2018 trailer. A lot of the E3 announcements, not a lot of them, but some of them, were actually sneaky ways in which they were delaying games, because they could show you this hype trailer and then later after the press conference go, oh yeah, that's coming out in 2019 instead of the 2018 we told you last year. They can phrase that and say that the release date now is 2019, and most people won't even bother to question it.
Join or die.
What am I looking at here? I'm looking at Greedfall. Let's watch this trailer. I didn't even see this one. Apparently Greedfall is coming out for PC, PS4, Xbox One, according to the clips on this, the tags on this, on the webpage, which I kind of like that what is this, Gematsu does that, because it certainly makes it a lot easier to know where that vital information is going to be held and kept, or stated a second time in a consistent place. Seems like Greedfall is a lot of combinations of a lot of things. I really can't tell if it's a single player or if it's a fighting game, or seems like maybe British colonizers are fighting against Native Americans in some kind of battle system.
I'm late. I'm late.
Join or die.
Yeah, I'm still not really sure.
Who am I?
They're saying Greedfall is an RPG. Okay, another game that needs way more information about it. Clearly I need more information about it. Next game we have on Steam is called Nostalgic Train. Didn't this game already come out? It's only in Japanese, unfortunately, so either it got delayed and then re-released, or it's a company that's just gonna consistently try and announce and release games over and over again. It's a shame that Nostalgic Train isn't in English, otherwise I might consider getting it. It's very pretty for what it shows in the trailer. Maybe very limited beyond that. Let's see.
Join
this.
or die.
Get down! Get down!
Quickly.
Just attack with that. Next game on Steam is called Dinosaur Hunt Puzzle. It's clearly a very low effort game. No reason to really talk about it. It is free to play, so I guess at least it gets the it gives you the value. You get what you pay for. Next game we have is a game called Hero Hunter's Jurassic Shooting Sniper. This is just clearly a bunch of assets merged together to make a very low effort game. It's I'm not sure if you call it a troll game or just very low effort. 35% off for $3.89. Too expensive. If it was like a 99-cent game, maybe you'd take something stupid and it was just a mix of dumb ideas. But PC Gamer has an article, the no-show PC games at E3 2018. This is an interesting list to consider. So let's see what the list is. Ages of Empire 4 was not listed. This will be good to end this recording on. Borderlands 3 was not listed. No surprise there. Oddly though, Randy Pitchford, the CEO of Gearbox, was on a live stream with Penn and Teller promoting Penn and Teller VR, which I think might include Desert Bus VR. Otherwise, that's its own separate thing. I have one theory as to why it's taking Borderlands 3 so long to get announced and come out, and one is that maybe they're using Unreal 4 is very difficult and actually a mistake, and Unreal 4 is not that good. The other is maybe this is a Duke Nukem Forever situation where they are so terrified that Borderlands 3 has to be better than both Borderlands 1 and 2 and the pre-sequel combined that they won't they wouldn't do that. Instead, Gearbox was also talking about a 1 versus 1 game that they're working on, and like Battleborn, I imagine this 1 versus 1 game is also in the effort for them to work on engine things and have a product to sell that is going to eventually get put as the foundation of Borderlands 3. But I'm not even sure Borderlands 3 is halfway done. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it's 2-3 more years. No new footage of a Star Wars game, except for Battlefront 2. Titanfall 3, I'm not sure we're getting that. No mention of Final Fantasy VII's remake. No mention of the Avengers game, which I wonder if maybe there's a timing issue there, but by the time the Avengers game is out, will it have a storyline that is in line with the movies, or will it have a storyline that is several like a year or two behind? There is no mention on what Rocksteady was working on. There was no mention of Fable. No mention of System Shock 3, which I think System Shock 3 is sort of not in development, although it says they said they were taking some time off of it, and then they said they're still working on it. No mention of any Splinter Cell things except for Tom Clancy's The Division, which is not a Splinter Cell thing. No mention of Skate 4, Session, arguably might be it. Not a long list of things that were missed, but certainly a significant list. There's a lot more that could have been mentioned here that aren't PC games. Like, you can name half of the things we know are in development or think are in development for Nintendo that weren't mentioned also. And I'm sure there's a dozen or so other games that are technically in development that could have been mentioned and weren't. Well, that's a good place to end this third recording, and we'll just move on to a fourth. I'm tired of having my last recording end up going 2 hours long, so let's end here. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, gift me a game on Steam. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.